As you know, I collect ducks. Why? Been asked that many times. Because they quack. And in this office, we fight quackery. And the ducks sit up there reminding me of the need to battle pseudoscience. So you can imagine that because of my sort of infatuation with ducks, I was a little bit perturbed when I saw headlines like this. And there were many, many in newspapers, magazines, and on all kinds of blogs. And that was absolutely frightening. People were screaming from the rooftops about dangers with these rubber duckies. Well, I was a bit irritated by that, especially because I knew that they weren't really talking about rubber ducks. Well, there used to be some rubber ducks way back in the late 1800s after Goodyear invented vulcanized rubber. But since then, they've been replaced by polyvinyl chloride ducks and by polyethylene ducks. There still are some collector's item rubber ducks, and I have some here. These guys really are made of rubber. But that is not what these stories were about. The stories were about these kind of ducks, which are made of PVC, polyvinyl chloride, and polyethylene. And people, of course, like these things. They were made famous by Ernie on Sesame Street with his song about his friendship with the rubber ducky. I always liked Ernie on Sesame Street. Anyway, some researchers in Switzerland did the unimaginable. They did an autopsy of duckies. And what they found was that those that had been played with, that had been sitting in bathtubs, on the inside had developed biofilms. Biofilms are aggregations of bacteria. Now, of course, we don't live in a sterile environment. Everything is full of bacteria. Our desks are full of bacteria, our cell phones, our keyboards. In fact, there is even a theory that it is a lack of exposure to bacteria early on in life in kids that leads to later development of allergies. So the hygiene hypothesis is something that is being debated in scientific circles on just how sterile we should try to be. So the finding of a biofilms inside of ducks was not such a big deal, but parents are worried because some of these ducks are squeezable. And they have holes in them so that they absorb water when they sit there. And then, of course, the water can be squeezed out. And they worry that kids are going to use these as water pistols in the bathtub and get contaminated by bacteria. Now, there's some sense to that because there was one story in a hospital where an infection really was traced to dirty bath toys. But other than that, there really is not much evidence. However, I should also point out that you can certainly get duckies that are not squeezable in the sense that they have no holes in them. Here is one of those, for example. You can see this guy doesn't have a hole at the bottom. You can squeeze him all you want. Kind of fun to squeeze this one. And nothing is going to come out, so there's no worry about this one. Now, there's also another issue that comes up, and that is that the reason that these guys are squeezable is because the plastic is mixed with a plasticizer, sort of an internal lubricant. And these are the phthalates. And phthalates have been linked with problems because they have hormone-like properties. However, with the ducks that you will find these days that kids play with, you don't have any phthalates. So, for example, on this one, if you look on the label, it will say non-phthalate. They're using other plasticizers like citrates. So I don't think that there's a big issue with problems with these ducks. This is the one that I have had at home, and he has been indeed sitting in water, so he might have a biofilm in him. I don't know. The only way really to find out is to do an autopsy, is to cut him open and see what is in there. I can't do that. Anyway, we've investigated these ducks, and now you know I don't worry about them, especially if you're going to play with the ones that don't absorb water, don't have any holes, and those are fun to play with.